The alarm pierced through Nellis Air Force Base like a battle cry. Captain Marcus. Thunder. Blake spilled his energy drink as command's urgent voice filled the briefing room. Unauthorized aircraft penetrating secure airspace. No transponder signal detected. Potential hostile contact. Scramble! Scramble! Scramble. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story resonates with you, consider subscribing for more tales of unrecognized heroes. Adrenaline flooded Marcus's system. He grabbed his helmet and sprinted toward Hangar 7 where his F-22 Raptor waited, engines already spinning, ground crew stepping back. His wingman, Lieutenant Sarah Phoenix Torres, was already strapping in, running through weapons checks mid-sprint. The maintenance chief, Sergeant Rodriguez, gave Marcus a thumbs up as he climbed into the cockpit. "All systems green, Captain," Rodriguez shouted over the engine noise. "She's ready to dance." In under 2 minutes, both Raptors roared down the tarmac and launched into the crimson Nevada sky. As they climbed through the thin air, Marcus locked into standard intercept protocol, his hands moving across the controls with practiced precision. Phoenix 2, this is Phoenix 1. Target visual at Angels 47, bearing northwest. No response to radio contact. Copy. Phoenix 1, Torres replied, her voice tight with concentration. Bogey is high, fast, and definitely not following civilian flight patterns. Speed indicates military-grade propulsion. The unidentified aircraft moved strangely, erratic altitude changes, sudden banks, almost like someone was flying manually under extreme stress or injury. Marcus had seen this kind of flying before, during combat missions over Afghanistan when pilots were wounded or aircraft were damaged. Command crackled through their headsets. Phoenix flight, establish visual confirmation. Weapons hold until authorized engagement. Be advised, aircraft shows no heat signature consistent with known enemy platforms. Roger that, Marcus acknowledged. At Mach 1.8, the Raptors closed distance rapidly. Marcus's ID illuminated the target, a sleek, dark silhouette against the orange horizon. Unmarked, angular, clearly military design, but not in any database he recognized. The aircraft's stealth profile was unlike anything in current American, Russian, or Chinese inventories. They attempted contact again. "Unknown aircraft, this is United States Air Force. You are violating restricted airspace. Identify yourself and change course immediately." Dead silence echoed through the comm channels. "Unidentified aircraft, this is your final warning. Respond on emergency frequency 121.5 or be classified as hostile." Still nothing but static. Weapon systems came online with a series of electronic chirps. Marcus's thumb hovered over the master arm switch, his training taking over. Protocol was crystal clear: no response, no identification. No course change meant hostile classification. Authorization to engage would follow within seconds. He steadied his breathing, preparing for weapons lock. Years of training had prepared him for this moment, but something felt wrong. The aircraft wasn't maneuvering defensively, wasn't attempting to escape or engage. It seemed almost familiar. "Phoenix 2, I have tone," he announced, his targeting system acquiring the bogey. "Same here. Weapons hot, awaiting your command." Marcus initiated targeting. The soft beep filled his helmet as the computer calculated firing solutions. Target acquired, missiles armed. Then a voice broke through female comm, barely audible through heavy static. "This is Night Raven. Stand down." Marcus froze, his finger lifting from the trigger. He knew that voice. His heart hammered against his ribs like a war drum. "Say again," he whispered, scanning his instruments, hoping he'd heard wrong. "Marcus, it's me, Night Raven. Don't fire." The world tilted on its axis. Night Raven was dead. Lieutenant Victoria Viper Kane, call sign Night Raven. Elite pilot, covert operations specialist, psychological operations expert. Lost over Syria 18 months ago during a classified NATO mission. No wreckage found, no distress signal, no survivors. Presumed Kiawe, memorial service held. Flag folded and presented to her mother. Everyone had moved on. Everyone except Marcus, who had been her squadron leader, her partner in countless missions, her anchor during the darkest operations. He'd stood at her memorial, staring at the empty coffin, wondering if he should have done more to bring her home. "Command, we have voice contact from the bogey." Pilot identifies as Night Raven. A long pause filled with static and confusion. Then command responded, tension evident in the controller's voice. "Repeat. Did you confirm, Night Raven?" "That call sign is listed as KIA, status classified." Marcus couldn't answer immediately. His mind was racing through possibilities. Deception, enemy intelligence, psychological warfare. But that voice, this isn't deception. The voice continued, clearer now. "I'm compromised but carrying critical intelligence. You shoot me down, you bury evidence that could prevent a war." His targeting system maintained lock, the computer indifferent to ghosts or memories. Torres's voice cut through the confusion. "Phoenix 1, you're not engaging. What are your orders?" Marcus took a deep breath, years of trust and partnership flooding back. Hold position. Do not engage. Command erupted through the channel. Phoenix 1. Confirm target status. Engage unless immediate verification possible. We cannot confirm identity of unknown pilot. I can verify, Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying absolute certainty. He switched to encrypted point-to-point communication, a secure channel only squadron leaders could access. You told me something before the Syria mission. Your last words before radio silence. A pause that seemed to last forever. Electronic warfare could fake voices, but not memories, not personal details that existed in no file or database. Then softly, like a whisper from beyond, if I disappear, remember the constellation. His eyes closed briefly as the words hit him. That was her. No intelligence agency, no matter how sophisticated, could have known that phrase. It was something she whispered into her comm when they thought their squadron was compromised over Afghanistan, looking up at stars through broken clouds, both believing it might be their last night alive. If I disappear, remember the constellation. She'd laughed afterward, like death was just another mission parameter to navigate around. He studied her aircraft more carefully now, seeing details he'd missed in the tactical assessment. Burned damage along the fuselage, like she'd flown through hell and barely escaped. Improvised repair panels that didn't match any standard maintenance protocol. Asymmetrical engine configuration suggesting field modifications. This wasn't just a homecoming, this was an emergency extraction by someone who'd been surviving on stolen time. Torres called again, confusion evident. Phoenix 1, talk to me. Who is Night Raven? Stand down, Marcus said firmly, his voice carrying command authority. All weapons safe. She's not hostile. What? Marcus, that's not protocol. You heard me. Disengage targeting. She's coming home. Torres hesitated but complied, years of training overriding confusion. Her Raptor banked away, maintaining overwatch position while keeping weapons offline. Command was furious now, multiple voices cutting through the channel simultaneously. Phoenix 1, you are violating direct engagement orders. Stand aside immediately. Marcus cut the command channel, keeping only the encrypted line open. In the silence that followed, he could hear his own heartbeat through his helmet speakers. Night Raven, he said, trying to keep the tremor out of his voice. Where have you been? Off the grid, Marcus. That aircraft I'm flying, it isn't ours. I've never seen technology like this in any American facility. Whose is it? That's what makes this complicated. It was built using American blueprints, but not by American hands. His radar chirped, 3 new contacts launching from Creech Air Force Base, heading their direction at maximum speed. Marcus switched back to command frequency, knowing he had minutes before this became a shooting war. Command, additional Raptors inbound. Recommend immediate clearance for Night Raven to land at Area 51. This pilot has intelligence critical to national security. Phoenix 1, you are exceeding authority. Stand aside for engagement team. Negative, I'm escorting this pilot to debrief. She's American military returning from deep cover operation. Marcus looked across at Victoria's aircraft, close enough now to see details that made his blood run cold. Through her canopy, he could see her silhouette, steady, focused, unchanged by 18 months in hell. But her aircraft told a different story. Exotic modifications, foreign electronics, weapon systems that shouldn't exist, and what looked like battle damage from weapons he couldn't identify. Victoria, he said quietly. What did you find out there? Something that changes everything, Marcus. The aircraft I'm flying, it was built using stolen American blueprints, but the theft came from inside our own system. His blood chilled. Inside what? The Pentagon. Someone's been systematically selling our most classified technology to foreign militaries. I have 18 months of proof. The 3 Raptors appeared on his scope, closing fast with weapons hot. Marcus made his decision, one that would either save lives or end his career. Night Raven, I'm escorting you to Groom Lake. Stay on my wing, follow my lead exactly. Marcus, if they force me down before debrief, this evidence disappears. People will die, and whoever's behind this will cover their tracks permanently. Then we don't let them force you down. He banked toward Nevada, Victoria's mysterious aircraft following in perfect formation despite its obvious damage. The 3 pursuing Raptors demanded he break off, their pilots following orders without understanding the stakes. Phoenix Flight, this is Sword Leader. You are ordered to stand down and allow engagement. Marcus keyed his mic calmly. Sword Leader, I am escorting a returning American pilot with intelligence critical to national defense. Recommend you contact Area 51 Command before proceeding. Whatever conversations happened in the next few minutes occurred on channels Marcus couldn't access, but the pursuing Raptors suddenly backed off, maintaining distance but no longer pressing for engagement. As they crossed into classified airspace, Marcus realized his life would never be the same. Night Raven was alive. and she was carrying secrets that could topple governments. The desert floor of Nevada stretched endlessly below as Marcus guided Victoria toward the restricted runway of Groom Lake. Her damaged aircraft leaked thin trails of coolant, creating ghostly contrails in the dry air. Behind them, the three pursuing Raptors had taken overwatch positions after receiving orders from someone high enough up the chain to override base command. Victoria's voice crackled through the encrypted channel, wary but determined. "Marcus, before we land, you need to understand what you're walking into. Tell me. I wasn't just gathering intelligence in Syria. I was tracking a network selling classified drone technology to the highest bidder, military contractors, foreign governments, private armies, anyone with enough money to destabilize regions and create new markets for American weapons." His grip tightened on the controls as the implications sank in. "How high does this go?" "High enough to have me declared dead rather than risk exposure. High enough to coordinate my assassination through official channels." They touched down on the secret runway as black SUVs emerged from hidden hangars like mechanical vultures. Men in unmarked fatigues surrounded Victoria's aircraft before she could even complete engine shutdown. Marcus taxied to a stop nearby, watching through his canopy as she climbed out slowly, hands visible, making no sudden movements that might trigger an international incident. She looked older, hardened by 18 months of survival in hostile territory. Her flight suit was patched and weathered, bearing stains that could have been hydraulic fluid or blood. But her bearing remained that of an elite pilot, confident, alert, dangerous in ways that civilian observers would never recognize. Marcus descended from his Raptor as security personnel approached with the measured urgency of people accustomed to managing global crises. "Captain Blake, you'll remain with your aircraft pending debriefing." She requested escort. Marcus replied, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd made life and death decisions in hostile airspace. "I'm staying with her." "That's not your decision, Captain." Victoria intervened, her voice cutting through the desert air with unmistakable command presence. "He flies with me, or this intelligence gets buried along with both of us." The security team hesitated, recognizing authority that transcended current rank structure. A woman in Air Force Major's uniform approached, someone Marcus didn't recognize but who clearly outranked everyone present. Her bearing suggested intelligence community, possibly CYA or NSA liaison. "Lieutenant Kane, welcome back from the dead." "Major." Victoria nodded, her tone neutral but respectful. "I brought something that's going to ruin a lot of careers and possibly prevent a war." She reached into her flight suit and produced a small black drive, encrypted in battle, scarred. 18 months of proof. Communications, bank transfers, shipping manifests, weapon specifications. Everything needed to trace stolen technology from American labs to foreign battlefields where it's being used against our allies. The Major studied the drive with the careful attention of someone who understood that small objects could reshape global politics. "You're alleging systematic treason. I'm proving it." They were escorted to an underground facility Marcus had heard rumors about but never seen. Sterile corridors lined with biometric scanners, blast doors that could withstand nuclear attack, the kind of place where conversations happened that could never be officially acknowledged. The air itself felt heavy with classified weight. In a windowless briefing room equipped with electromagnetic shielding, Victoria connected her drive to a secure terminal. Data flowed across multiple screens, technical specifications for advanced drones, payment records to shell companies in the Cayman Islands, communications between military contractors and foreign intelligence services. The operation was called Project Blackbird, Victoria explained, her voice steady despite obvious exhaustion. Someone inside the Pentagon was systematically selling prototype technology to create an international arms market. When I got too close to identifying the source, they burned my cover and left me for dead in Syrian territory. Marcus studied the evidence flowing across screens, feeling sick as he recognized weapon systems he'd trained on, aircraft specifications that were supposed to be classified above his clearance level. Who's behind it? Victoria pulled up a communication thread that made the room fall silent. The codename was Iron Eagle. I never identified the real person, but the access codes trace back to someone with Pentagon clearance and NATO briefing authority. Someone who could authorize my termination without oversight. The Major leaned forward, her expression grim. You're describing someone at the highest levels of military intelligence, someone with the power to erase people from official records. Someone who decided I knew too much and needed to disappear permanently. For 3 hours, Victoria laid out the entire network with the methodical precision of a pilot running through pre-flight checks. Stolen drone technology being modified in overseas facilities, then sold back to conflict zones where American forces might encounter their own weapons. military contractors creating bidding wars between allied nations, false flag operations designed to increase defense spending while undermining actual security. The most damning evidence was a communication thread labeled Night Raven Termination, orders to eliminate Victoria before she could return with proof, using official channels to coordinate an assassination that would appear as combat casualty. Marcus felt physically ill as he read transcripts. They tried to have you murdered. They succeeded? Officially, Lieutenant Victoria Kane died in Syria 18 months ago. Night Raven became a ghost, surviving on stolen identities and captured equipment. The Major stood up, her face pale. This intelligence will trigger multiple investigations across allied nations. Court-martials, congressional hearings, potential dissolution of international defense agreements. Good, Victoria replied without hesitation. Some things are worth burning the world down to expose. After the initial debrief, they were separated for individual questioning. Marcus found himself in a small room with two men in expensive suits, intelligence officers who asked the same questions multiple ways, testing for inconsistencies, unauthorized knowledge, possible compromise. You disobeyed direct orders from your commanding officer, one said, his tone suggesting this was already decided. I protected an American pilot returning with critical intelligence. Marcus replied, meeting his gaze steadily. You risked your career, possibly your freedom, for someone you believed was dead. Marcus considered this carefully. I trusted my training, my experience, and 18 months of partnership with the finest pilot I've ever flown with. I'd make the same decision again. Meanwhile, Victoria was in a more secure facility, facing questioners who knew exactly what her intelligence meant. People who understood that Project Blackbird wasn't just theft, it was systematic treason that could reshape global military balance and undermine decades of strategic partnerships. What do you want? They asked finally, after hours of verification and cross-checking. I want the people responsible held accountable through proper channels. And I want protection for the pilots still out there who don't know they're flying into traps created by their own command structure. Hours later, they were reunited in secure quarters, basic but clean accommodation designed for people who might never officially exist. Victoria sat on a narrow bed, staring at a photograph she'd kept hidden throughout 18 months of survival, their original squadron, taken before the mission that changed everything. Do you regret it? Marcus asked, sitting across from her in the room's single chair. Which part? Discovering the conspiracy, faking my death, or trusting you to bring me home? Any of it. She looked at him with eyes that had seen too much, survived too much, carried too much weight for any one person. The only thing I regret is how long it took to get this evidence home. Over the following weeks, Project Blackbird unraveled in classified hearings that would never appear in public records. Military contractors lost security clearances overnight. Pentagon officials resigned quietly with sealed severance packages. International agreements were secretly renegotiated to account for compromised technology sharing. Victoria disappeared again, this time voluntarily. New identity, new mission. Operating in shadows too deep for official oversight. But Marcus knew she was out there, hunting the networks that still existed, protecting pilots who would never know her name. The aircraft she'd flown home was reverse, engineered in facilities that didn't officially exist. Its technology led to advances that would keep American forces ahead of enemies using stolen blueprints. Her sacrifice had prevented a technological catastrophe that could have cost thousands of lives. Night Raven wasn't just a call sign anymore. It had become a promise that someone was watching, someone who remembered what honor meant in a world that had forgotten the difference between patriotism and profit. Marcus returned to active duty, but he kept the photograph Victoria had given him, their squadron in better days, when the enemy was clearly defined and victory meant bringing everyone home alive. He was promoted, given classified assignments that let him continue the work Victoria had started. Sometimes, late at night, he'd receive encrypted messages. No signature, no identification, just tactical intelligence that saved lives and exposed corruption. Information about weapon shipments that never made it to their destinations, about contractors whose security clearances mysteriously disappeared, about foreign operations that unraveled before they could harm American interests. He knew who sent them. Night Raven was still flying, still fighting, still burning forward into the darkness where heroes were made and legends were born. She'd become something more than human, a force of nature that protected the innocent and punished the guilty with surgical precision. In the end, some warriors never really come home. They just find new battlefields where their skills serve a higher purpose. And sometimes that's exactly what the world needs. The war Victoria had prevented was never declared, never fought, never acknowledged. But in classified files that would remain sealed for 50 years, analysts would note a dramatic decrease in advanced weapons proliferation, the mysterious failure of several arms-dealing networks, and the unexplained protection of American forces operating in hostile territory. Night Raven had become more than a pilot. She'd become a guardian angel with missiles and the judgment to know when to use them. Marcus flew on, knowing that somewhere in the vast sky, his partner was still out there, still protecting people who would never know her name, still proving that sometimes the greatest victories are the ones that never make the history books. Some heroes fly in formation, others fly alone in the darkness, guided only by stars and the unshakable belief that some things are worth any sacrifice to protect. Night Raven flew on forever,